Today we're finishing our sermon series on the book Rooted in the Wild, and it's a book that presents this problem of a lot of churches in the world right now. A lot of churches in the world right now are dying. They are slowly dying. And so this book presents this problem of these churches that need to be revitalized. And I'm not saying that this church exactly is dying, because we're not. We're growing. Each and every week, the Spirit is moving in this church. We have people that are coming hungry for the Spirit each and every week in everything that we do. The Spirit of God is moving in this church. But that doesn't mean that some of the concepts and some of the principles from this book can't apply to us. Okay, so today, we're talking about this idea of revitalizing the church through these fresh expressions, through these micro churches, and building our churches for the future, for the attraction model, right? And the attraction model is this new way of church. The way we've done church for the past hundreds of years is not the same way that the next generation, it's not the same way that new people to the faith want to do church. They want to do it differently, and that's okay. And so this book outlines some of the ways that we can do it differently. Okay? And so last week we talked about how these fresh expressions, these micro churches, they don't have to be built on a Bible study. They don't have to be built on a class or a book study or something like that. They can just be a gathering of people in community with one another. And these gatherings can start really, really small with 2 or 3 people, and they can grow into something much, much bigger. So I'm going to read scripture today from Matthew chapter 13. It's verses 31 and 32, and it reads, "He told them another parable." This is Jesus speaking. "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches." That's Matthew chapter 13, verses 31 through 32, which is the parable of the mustard seed. Right, and so a mustard seed is this really tiny seed that grows into this really, really big tree. Right, that's how these fresh expressions can start. Really, really small. Our micro churches, they'll start as mustard seeds. Something small and simple. But one day it can grow into a towering and beautiful tree that the entire community can see, that the entire garden can see. See, starting a micro church, starting a fresh expression is an invitation for God to use you. It's an opportunity for discipleship for you and the other members of your micro church. And these fresh expressions can grow into these beautiful trees. Now, last week we defined how we will go about building these micro churches, right? Starting really small and just meeting together for something simple. A certain activity that you all have in common or something like that. But today we're gonna discuss the discipleship portion. How do these micro churches, how do these smaller communities of people, how do they disciple? How do we disciple each other in these groups? And so the first way that I'm going to talk about, there's 3 ways that I'm going to talk about today, and there's millions more, right? There's no right answer of how to do these micro churches and these fresh expressions. There's no right answer. But I'm going to tell you, one of the ways that we disciple each other is through relational accountability. Relational accountability. Now, what does that mean? Relational accountability. It means being accountable in a group where we feel comfortable. Right? Being accountable in a group where we feel comfortable. One thing that I think some of us may struggle with is this sense of community that we're talking about with these fresh expressions. See, I think it's easy to hide in a crowd. It's easy to hide in a crowd, but it's not so easy to hide in a circle, in a group of people, a smaller group of people that sits in a circle together. It's not so easy to hide. It's not so easy to walk in the doors, listen to a great message, do some worship, talk to a few people, and then walk out. It's not easy to do that in these micro churches. And that's where the accountability comes into play. Is because we're meeting with these groups each and every week. We're meeting with these people, and it doesn't have to be weekly. It can be monthly. It can be bi-monthly. It can be as much as you want or as little as you want. It doesn't matter. It just has to be with a group of like-minded people who want to hold each other accountable. See, another way is through shared rhythms. Right? We share these rhythms together. So whether you meet twice a week or once a month, I encourage you to create a rhythm for your meetings, for your gatherings. Through this, you begin to build these habits of these meetings, where you're coming together and you're having a meal together first, and during the meal, all you were really talking about is some small talk. How's your week going? Right? We're not really digging into the details. But then, as the meetings go on, we maybe add in a devotional. Maybe we read scripture together. Maybe we discuss what's going on in our hearts, what's going on in our minds. We discuss how God is moving in our lives. Maybe we discuss how we thought God was going to move this way, but he's not. And that's hard. Those conversations are hard things. But they create a rhythm. They create an expectation that I'm going to go to this gathering, and those are the conversations that we're going to have. Another way is through participation. So when you're doing these micro churches, I encourage you to, whoever's leading it, try to talk less and allow others to speak. Allow the Spirit to speak. Right? It doesn't have to be something where every single word is performance. Where every single word, every single conversation is planned out. It can be spontaneous. See, when we participate together, when we talk about these things, we learn how to do ministry together. We learn how to live our lives for Christ together. We get ideas from each other. See, I think oftentimes we get content on letting the leadership do the ministry. Just saying, oh, I'll support them. I'll say, yeah, I go to that church, that pastor does all of those things, or the leadership does all of those things. But the thing with microchurches is we aim to get everybody involved. Every single person involved. See, real discipleship occurs when everyone contributes, not when just a few perform. So these microchurches we talked about in week 1 are supposed to start in these third spaces. These third spaces in our lives, outside of our homes, outside of our workplaces. These third spaces where we go to maybe have a little bit of fun, where we go to do our hobbies. Right? That's where these micro churches are supposed to start. But one thing you'll notice when you start one, and as it grows into this great and beautiful thing, is that it infiltrates our lives and our gardens in ways that we never expect it to. We never expect it to. Micro churches will start to infiltrate your families. It'll start to infiltrate your workplaces, your schools, your communities. And this is not a bad thing. Right? I said it'll infiltrate your workplaces. That doesn't mean that everybody in your workplace is going to be a part of your micro church, but maybe just one person from your workplace is part of your micro church. And you begin to talk about it. You begin to talk about it at work. You begin to talk about it so that other people might hear about it. And they say, that sounds fun. Maybe I should join. See, microchurches will start in our third spaces, but they'll infiltrate our first and second places without us even knowing it, in small, little ways. I want you to dream for a second. I want you to imagine for a second a church that isn't confined to just worshiping on Sundays, isn't confined to just gathering on a Sunday. A group of people that isn't confined to only seeing each other on Sunday mornings, but every single day. A church that is alive Monday through Saturday, and Sunday, of course. A church that is actively doing ministry together. And it doesn't have to be the entire church together at once. It can be small micro churches, small groups that are discipling each other, that are building each other up, that are encouraging each other. See, the church can be a hub. It can be a hub where we come and we listen and we hear things from the Spirit. We worship. We listen to a sermon. We gather in a large community, and then we have these micro churches where we can break it down, where we can talk about how the Spirit moved in our hearts. We can talk about the ideas that we got. The Spirit is always ready to move in your heart. The Spirit is always ready to move in our communities. But the question, as we come to a time of prayer, the question is not, can God use me? Because if you didn't know, the answer is yes. God can use you, no matter how broken you might feel like you are. The question is not, God, can you use me? The question becomes, will I open my home? Will I open my table? Will I open my life to these micro churches, to this sense of community where we get the opportunity to disciple each other? So maybe you're thinking of an idea in your heart, in your mind, right? And it's starting off as a mustard seed. And so I want you to frame what you're thinking, not in a way of can this work, but frame it in a way of, will I actually do it? Will I open it? Will I give up my third space for discipleship? Ask yourself that question as we listen to our call of prayer.